Okay, this time I have a Wi-Fi boosting product to review here. It's a devolo Wi-Fi AC repeater. Now, you probably know what that is because you're watching this video, but a repeater is also known by some people and companies as an extender or a Wi-Fi booster, Wi-Fi extender, whatever. Now, it can also be used in AP mode. I'll go into that a little bit more later on. I will tell you a little bit what a repeater is first, then I'll tell you the specs and what it's capable of, then I'll show you it closer up and any ports and buttons and things like that it has and how you use it. Then near the end I'll actually show you a screen recording of the web-based interface to show you the basic menu options for setting up. Then near the end I'll tell you the price and if I recommend it or not. They have another model, but it is just for what is known as Wi-Fi N, basically 802.11n. This supports that, but it also supports the newer standard, the 802.11ac, up to 1200 megabits a second. A repeater, a Wi-Fi repeater, as I said, you might think of as a booster, or I tend to call them an extender, and so do some other companies and things. What that does, if you use this not in AP mode, if you use this in extender mode, what it does is it doesn't create a separate Wi-Fi connection like another router would. It actually takes your current signal, your current connection, and it boosts it. It grabs hold of it, it extends its range and boosts it and amplifies its strength as well. An example of that, just very quickly, would be, say if you have a bit of trouble with range and coverage of your Wi-Fi network. So say your modem and your router is in your main living room. Then say you have beside your living room you have the kitchen. Then you have another room opposite that. Well, that is quite a long way for some routers to travel through several rooms to the other room that you might be using a computer or a laptop, your smartphone, tablet, whatever. So the signal may be there, but it may be quite weak, and therefore you might have slow downloads, things like that. What you could possibly do in that case is leave your router and all that where it is. Then get a repeater such as this one, or an extender, booster, whatever you want to call it, and put that maybe halfway through the kitchen or on the other side of the kitchen, close to the other room you want to use it in. So then this sees that signal from the router, grabs hold of it as it's coming through the kitchen, grabs hold of it, and it boosts it further out into that other room that you wanted opposite the kitchen, boosts it, extends it and boosts it. So that could be really, really helpful. If you have your router in one room, then maybe several rooms away, you have somebody else's computer, or maybe you mainly use your gear in one room and you have another family member or something has their setup several rooms away. It might be very weak for them in that other room, being quite a distance away from the main hub, your main Wi-Fi hub. So that is exactly what this does. Of course, it does bear in mind, like with any Wi-Fi setup, what brick walls are in the way. They do recommend a clear shot, but still, even if you don't have a clear shot, even if it does have to be a router in one corner of the room, then it has to go at a bit of an angle through a wall and stuff. If it does, it does. It isn't ideal, but it will still help. It does also, before we go into more specs, on the bottom that you'll see in a minute when I show you it closer up, it does have 1 gigabit LAN Ethernet port. So if you say want to plug it in to gigabyte port just to help a bit, or if you use it in AP mode, things like that, you can. It's not something you perhaps would often do with an extender. You perhaps just got to be going by the Wi-Fi, but it's handy to have a gigabit Ethernet port on the bottom in case. That can also help if for some reason you have trouble accessing its web-based interface. I found that if you ever do stumble across a problem and you're having trouble accessing its interface, its settings via the web browser, if you have an Ethernet port that you can plug this into on your computer, you stand a better chance of getting to its interface. So I think it's good they've included an Ethernet port, even if it's just as a backup for maintenance, things like that. It is dual band. It supports both the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bandwidths. And another use, of course, for Ethernet port, just before we do actually move on, would be for if there is something close to this extender that doesn't have Wi-Fi. Say you have, for some reason, a TV or something that has Ethernet support on it, but it doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi, like an older model TV or something, and you can plug it into this. So it does have its uses. I'm glad they've included one. It also does to support WPS, which is something not all routers and things have. For example, my main router is an Apple Time Capsule, and it doesn't have a WPS button. That is basically for security and quick access to, quick setup of your Wi-Fi connection. You can press the button on it. And some routers don't have a WPS button, but this does. It also has a very, very good and very helpful LED signal strength indicator. You'll see that closer up, but you might be able to see it there. See these lines like a Wi-Fi signal? Well, that gauges how strong a signal that this extender is receiving from your main center, your main router, your main hub. And so if you have this very, very far away from your main router, it may only have like 1, 2, or 3 lights lit up. But if you are getting a good strong signal, you will get 4, or even if it's really good, 5 bars. Some extenders have these. In fact, their older model has this. The non-AC model has this, but it doesn't have as many levels of indication, so it's not as accurate, not as helpful. It might have just 3 lights. This has the whole 5, and that is definitely a lot more precise. It is backwards compatible with not just the new AC, but it's backwards compatible with N, G, B, and even the older A. So it is backwards compatible with 802.11 N, G, or B, or A as well. So if you have older devices, like older smartphones, things like that, in your home or small business, you can still log into your Wi-Fi and things like that with this. Of course, if your main hub is anyway, that's the main thing. But this will still provide an extended signal that is compatible with all the Wi-Fi standards. As I've mentioned, it can be used in AP mode. That is access point mode, and basically it creates an alternative. It's an alternative use for it. It creates a new AC Wi-Fi network. So basically, it's almost like using it as a router, but it's not as full featured as, of course, a main router would be. But you can, if you have that use for some reason, you can use it in access point mode to create a new Wi-Fi network. However, I think primarily you're going to be using this as a extender, and that is what it is advertised primarily for. It is called an AC repeater. But it's good to know that there is the access point mode there to create a separate network. And why would you want to do that? Well, that is because it's not creating a new one by being plugged into your modem. It doesn't have to plug into the modem. It takes your existing network again, but then creates a new name and a new password and stuff on a kind of a separate, almost like a sub network. And it does include 3 years of manufacturer's warranty. It's compatible not just with Windows, but it is compatible with Windows 7 and up, Mac 10.6, and Ubuntu Linux. And it may, of course, be compatible with other versions of Linux. That's just the one they have obviously tested with and specify. But it is compatible with Linux, Mac, and Windows. What comes in the box? The unit itself, of course, which dimensions are in width, height, and depth, 59 by 91 by 38 millimeters, and it has an installation guide to help you set it up as well. There is also data sheets and things like that, installation instructions in case you lose it as PDFs on the product page on the company's website as well. I'd just like to point out some of the key differences between this AC repeater and the non-AC repeater, which has been out for a longer amount of time? Well, the upload and download and that speeds are different. So as you can see there, and also the Ethernet port speed as well. Now let's just start with the actual speed first. The AC speed is up to 1200 megabits a second on the AC model, and it's only up to 300 is all on the non-AC model. The Ethernet port is a gigabyte Ethernet port. It's only a 100 megabit port on the non-AC. A huge difference on the Ethernet port if you plan on using it. Also, it's not dual band on the non-AC. This model, the AC model, is dual band, supporting 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. It does not support 5 gigahertz on the regular repeater model. It also is multi-tier LED with 5 LEDs. The other model, the non-AC, does have LEDs, but are only 3 levels, and that's the difference. A lot faster. It supports AC. It's a lot faster gigabyte Ethernet port. It's dual band and has more LEDs, and of course, it's slightly newer model as well. Here we go. Here's the front of it. You have the company name that sticks out there. You have the WC button, the WPS button that you can press in. You can also hold that in for, it's a little while you need to hold it in just as a precaution, but if you want to reset this to scratch, so you can start all over again with the settings and set it up like it's just come out of the box, then you hold down the WPS button for a little while until the LEDs start showing the right indication for that. Then you can let go and you are back to the start, and you can set it up from scratch. So don't worry, you're not stuck once you set this up. If you do something wrong, you can always manually reset the device via that button. Then you have the 5 levels that light up white here for the LEDs. Then on the bottom you have a 1 gigabit Ethernet port and a bit of a air vent there. So I'll try not to block that even if you're not using the port. There's nothing else on the sides or the top apart from an air vent. Then this is the important bit. Now don't worry if you're watching this from North America, that will be a different plug. You can get this in at least North America, not sure about other countries, and it will be the correct port for you. It will be the correct socket for you. So you plug this into your socket, your mains wall power socket, and that's how it powers, and that's all you have to do for power. Then there's some safety information there as well. Now you just saw 3 prongs on the back. That is because I'm in the UK and this is a UK model. There shouldn't be any other differences in places like the US or Canada. It should just be like 2 prongs or whatever you have in your country if this is available in your country. I will give the US dollar price as well as UK price towards the end as well. Okay, now I'm just going to cut away, show you the interface and how to set it, a basic sort of little tutorial, very quick, of the interface and how to set it up. Then I'll come back and finish the video off. Okay, so hopefully that was a little bit helpful to you. Plus I've told you that you can reset the device to its factory defaults via the WPS button. Now what is the price? It is a reasonable price because if you want this, you're probably wanting it around £30 to £50 price range, especially if you might want to buy more than one and put it in different parts of your house. And this is a particularly good one because it does have the good LED indicators, it works well, and it is regularly updated with firmware. It has a gigabyte Ethernet port and things like that. I particularly like the design with, and yeah, it just really well thought out extender. It's very good, and it's £49.99, so it is £50. but there are some that are about 60, things like that. But if this is 50, which I think is good for what it is, because you can get some cheaper, of course, especially if they're not AC. But for an AC one, AC repeater that works well with 5-tier LEDs, gigabyte Ethernet port, and things like that, I think that this is a good price for this particular model, especially since it is 1200 megabits a second. You can get some that are slightly less. So for the speed and things like that, I think that is just right price for this. US dollars dollar price should be on the screen, or it was just a second ago. And I do actually really recommend it. I really like it. The only trouble I've had is occasionally when you want to go back to the settings, once you set it up, sometimes it doesn't seem to want to come up, at least not on Mac. And I've had to get around that by loading a Wi-Fi program and finding it on the list of Wi-Fi connections in the area, and what will be called something different, and then I can go to it manually. Or if I have a port on a computer, a Ethernet port, plugging it into Ethernet will get the access. So it can be a little hit and miss sometimes with its setup Wi-Fi web browser-based Wi-Fi program. That is the only issue I've had with it personally. It is really good. Love the design, good specs for the price. I do actually recommend it. A link will be in the description. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you do a huge favour, if you're watching this as a review on the Amazon product page, please hit the yes button next to was this review helpful to you. That will help me out a lot as well. Thanks for watching.